Just entered the Zoom.
There he is.
Hey, there he is.
I thought you saw it.
Will Loevner.
Going.
Good to see you again, man. Welcome to the Gretna Bill Show. We were just checking on past podcasts, and it was about 10 months ago that you were on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then you talked about your experience at Unbound XL when you broke your hand.
Uh-huh.
And because you broke, I tell this story, I hope you don't mind. So you broke your hand with like 80 miles to go. And so you ended up being severely dehydrated. So people say, well, why didn't he stop? Because I said we had two hands on the bars. So if one is broken, it's just there. So he can only do that, reach over and get his water bottle. So like, he's like, I'm not stopping. So I'm just going to keep riding. And people go, so why didn't he just stop for like 30 seconds and drink some water? I'm like, no, what are you kidding me? This is a race. This is like, are you serious? What planet are you from? No, he's not going to stop and take a drink. Come on, man. That's for old guys like me.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a hell of a race.
Dude. So, well, the other thing that struck me was when because, we can go over your resume here, and I'd like you to just hit the highlights real quick before we get into it. But you said, I'm going to be a little bit late for the podcast because I got tied up at work. I was like, work? What's that? This guy's riding all over the world and like he's got time for work. Okay. All right. So anyway, that threw me back a bit. But yeah, so anyway, so you said some months ago you said, yeah, I'll be going to the national 24-hour championships and UCI and stuff for the United States. When was that? July? June?
Yeah, that was back in July.
Right. So you said you were going. So we got you a Betty. And so I'm assuming, you won the thing. So congratulations. That was the goal. That was a killer race. So, wow, you're a national champion, 24-hour solo with Lupine light on your bars. It was a Betty. So, we have Bettys and Wilmas. Uh-huh. That's a long-standing brand. So this is gonna date me and predate you probably. But did you ever watch the Flintstones? Do you know what the Flintstones are?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yabba dabba doo. Wilma. Anyway, that's where they got Betty and Wilma from. But
So
I don't know. They're Europeans.
Okay, cool.
Who knows if they, over there, maybe they have exotic cartoons. They're like, look at this. Let's look at the Flintstones. It's an American cartoon. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, yabba dabba doo. So when I was a kid, man, like 10, 12, I don't know. It's like Friday night. My parents would like go out to eat or whatever, and they'd leave me alone with a whole bunch of ice cream and candy and shit and soda. And I was fine because back in those days, we had primetime cartoons. And so the deal was I'd be waiting, and I'd be like, all sugared up, ready to go. And the first thing would be 7:30 was the Flintstones. And that was a half hour. And I was like, dude, I was so boned up for that. You wouldn't believe it. It's like, yeah, Flintstones. And then after that, it was Johnny Quest. Did you ever hear that guy? Oh, man, the Johnny Quest cartoon. Oh, those were adventure cartoons. Haji. And anyway. So I digressed. So anyway, in the last 10 months, you've done a lot of epic shit, just unbelievable, off the charts. And, folks out there, for your information, what we did was I said, hey, we got to do a podcast quick because we had been talking about this to talk about you going to the UCI solo 24-hour world championship representing America. And you said, I'm going in May.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, let's do that right away. And you said, I'm looking for a headlamp because I have a bar light, the Betty. And I said, okay, we'll talk about it on the podcast. So you said you were going, but you couldn't do it that week, which was last week. You said, I can only do it next week. And I said, why? What's going on? And you go, because circumnavigating Lake Erie on my bike. Like that's when normal people are going out for dinner on the weekend and shit, you're riding your bike for like what? So tell us a little bit about that trip. And then, yeah, just, I'm curious. How long, how many miles, usually you sleep about 10 minutes or something, right? How'd it go?
So this last weekend, I left on Thursday last week, and me and my friend John Vorberger, we made this route around Lake Erie. It was 665 miles. So we drove off and we started in Cleveland was our start point. And then the first day we rode is like a mix of pavement and gravel roads along the lake up through Ohio, and then through Pennsylvania, through Erie, and then up into New York for that first night. The first day was about 190 miles we did, and then stayed in New York that first night and just got a little bit of sleep, and then woke up the next morning real early. I think we got rolling around 4:30 or 5 the next morning. And that morning we rode up through New York up to Buffalo. And then in Buffalo, we crossed over the border into Canada. It was a little bit confusing with all like the COVID restrictions, and we honestly didn't really know what to expect, like getting through the border. But fortunately, we got right up and we just got in the car lane, and the Canadian border security guy just let us through. And so he thought we were crazy, but then we went blasting off into Canada and made it about halfway to this town, St. Thomas in Ontario that night. So that was another 190-mile day. And in Canada, it was a mix of gravel and pavement. And the Canadian side of the lake is pretty cool because it's much less populated. So there wasn't quite as much resupplies, but it was pretty nice because we weren't dealing with as many cities to ride through or anything. So that was pretty cool. And then next day we rode from St. Thomas, Ontario, back into the US. So we were crossing back in Detroit. But it turns out there's no pedestrian crossings going from Canada into Detroit, or for that matter, I don't think there's any pedestrian crossings going into Michigan. So we realized at the last minute that the bus that we thought was running under the tunnel that would take you across the border, we realized that it was shut down because of COVID. So for a second, we thought we were screwed and that we were going to be stuck in Canada, or that we are going to have to turn around and go back through Buffalo. But fortunately, I have an uncle that lives in Detroit, and he wasn't doing anything. So he came out and picked us up and then just drove us through the tunnel under the river into Detroit. And then we just got back on our bikes on the other side after the tunnel, and then rode down through Michigan that day. I think it ended up being like 155 or 160 miles, stayed in Monroe, Michigan. And then the last day just finished it off and rode back from Michigan back to Cleveland. So it ended up being 4 days with 665 miles. And I think it was like about 40 hours of ride time for the total. But
so you
you
actually slept and stuff, right? Like normal people.
Yeah.
For this occasion.
Yeah.
So quickly, can you give me like a highlight reel of the last 10 months and what you've been doing in terms of big rides and big accomplishments,
sure.
And then how that is all coming together for your attempt at the World Solo 24-hour championship coming up in May in Italy, right? Yeah. So how's that all?
Yep, it's in Italy.
How's that all pieced together for you? Like when did you decide you were
so
going?
Like you said,
and
last time
Yep, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last time we talked was after Unbound XL, and I'd just broken my hand out there in Kansas, and then it was 5 weeks until the 24-hour national championship. And fortunately, my hand healed up enough that I was able to race the 24-hour solo national championship, and I was able to win out there in Oregon. And then after that race, I went out to Colorado and did the Leadville 100, and then I also did the Breck Epic right after. So the Leadville 100 was on Saturday, and then Breck Epic was 5 days, the 5 following days after.
Nice.
And then after that, did a gravel route that crosses Pennsylvania and back. It was an 850-mile route. It was called the Pennsylvania Passage, and me and my friend were actually the first people to do that route. We did it in 8 days, and then after that, I was gearing up this fall for there's the Rockstar gravel route, which goes from Harrisonburg, Virginia to Roanoke, and it's 250 miles of some pretty gnarly gravel. And my goal was to go for the fastest known time on that thing. So the week before, I think I saw you at Unpaved,
Yes.
Pennsylvania. I was doing.
Yeah, let me say something about that. So I'm trugging along, slowly going after my 100-mile day. And then all of a sudden, about maybe a third through it, you blew by me on this hill, say, "Hey, Bill," and then you just kept going. And so I was confused because I'm like, wait a minute. He didn't start behind me, and there's no way he was behind me. And so I go, "Hey, what's going on?" And you go, "Oh, I'm doing this twice." So that was your second time on that hill. So you did 200 miles then, right? Or no, 240. How many was it that day?
Yeah, it ended up being 250 miles. I started at 10 o'clock the night before the race, and then I rode through the night. And then I finished the first lap around, I want to say it was around like 9 o'clock in the morning or so.
That would make sense because we left at 8. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got hammered with rain during the night, and it was pretty cold. And then the second lap was really cool because I saw all sorts of people out on course.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that ended up being a long day. Before the ride, I was like, all right, I'm going to do a tune-up ride for Rockstar gravel. But that double Unpaved ended up taking me like 20 hours and was just a mud fest. I was averaging really slow and it was a grind, but yeah, it was a good rip.
But you did it, man. Good rip. So,
yeah.
So then what happened down at Old Pueblo? I heard you were strong, but you had some bad luck or something.
Yeah. So Old Pueblo is definitely a learning experience. Just coming out from I'm based up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the winters are pretty bad up here. So I just went out and just wanted to go and just learn a lot from it going into this Worlds race in May. So there's a lot of tough competition, and I went out and just tried to go out hard and see what I got. But I really didn't stick to like my nutrition and hydration plan enough to be successful in it. So I ended up bonking pretty hard it was probably at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I pretty much passed out, and my support guy woke me up like 5 hours later, and he's like, "Look, man, you're still in podium position if you can get back out and ride some more laps." And I was completely dead. I was like a zombie in the chair, but they kind of force fed me some food and a couple sodas or something, and pushed me back out on course. And I was able to get 50 more miles done in the morning and hold on to 5th place. But
nice.
The race was cool just because I learned. Yeah, the race was cool just because I learned so much for the Worlds race, and it's like it forced me to really dial in like what I'm going to eat and drink, because doing those 24-hour races is so much more than just like the mental side. It's a lot. I mean, there's the mental side and there's the physical side and the nutrition side, and it comes down to it's pretty much like an eating contest is half of it. So I used all that stuff that I learned out there just to prepare.
So a quick ask here. I'm kind of a trainer road disciple. And those guys talk about, well, when they did the Cape Epic, is that, by the way, let me digress a minute. Is the Cape Epic ever going to be on your radar down in South Africa?
Yeah. I mean, I always follow along with it, and it looks like a hell of a race. Maybe someday if I can.
Dude, that's a piece of cake for you. Those are only like 50-mile days. Come on, 67. So anyway, Trainer Road says, look, your body can absorb about 90 grams of carb an hour. And so, that's like a gel, some mix in your bottle, a bar, maybe even a block, because like a gel is like 25 grams of carbs. So like calories, that'd be around 400 or whatever, 350 an hour. And they said, some guys will even take more than that, even though theoretically your body can only do, metabolize about 80, 90 grams of carbs an hour. So lately I've been trying to do that. And because, I would like do a gel or a bar or something and get, maybe a banana before the race or whatever. Or, I'm doing 2 or 3 hours or whatever. And I would think I'm good, right? Because then after a while, you just forget about it and you just like, let me finish. But I found that made a difference in my performance. And so I got to keep hammering the stuff and also on my recovery. So like, the mistake is, I've only got another hour left. I'm not going to eat nothing. But then that puts you in the hole for your recovery already. So I've been really focusing on like at least a gel. If you look at a gel pack, it says 45 minutes, every 45 minutes. So anyway, I've been trying to stick to that. Not so much protein, but 90 grams of carbs. So is that something that you subscribe to, or are you in that general ballpark? What I just said?
Yeah, definitely. I've kind of just done a lot of experimenting doing these long rides, and it's like I do a mix of intaking my calories through liquid. Like I use flow formulas, so I can do 2 or 3 scoops and get like 240 calories or 300 calories from just that. And that's depending on what the
50 grams or 40 grams, right? Go ahead. Yeah, of carbs. So,
yeah. I think around there. So, and it kind of depends on what the course is like. If the course is really single track heavy and it's difficult, like reaching down my hand and also eating something else, then I'll rely more heavily on the liquid. But
right.
I think that what I've found during like 24-hour races and longer stuff is I really have to eat more solid food. So it's like when I set the fastest time on the Rockstar gravel route, which was 250 miles and took me 18 hours and 45 minutes or so. It was self-supported. So there's just 3 gas stations on the route. So in between the gas stations, I'd be drinking the flow formulas and eating like a couple gels or a couple candy bars along those lines. But then I'd get to the gas stations and I'd just like crush like 3 hot dogs or like a couple slices of pizza or something. And then I'd be good for, I think, just like intaking like 1,500 calories at a gas station kind of is more the slow burning fuel that would like keep me going for the next 6 hours to the next stop. But, and then I still eat on top of that. But I kind of use that same strategy for 24-hour races is kind of what I've learned is like, you got to do the mix of the liquid, the like solid food, like maybe pasta or pizza or something. And then also like the gels and the goos.
Yep.
And lastly, I just personally like eating like candy bars. So
I hear that
too.
from you. Yeah. I remember you were telling me about Unbound XL, and I think you did a Fanta orange and a pizza, then Fanta orange and pizza. And I'll tell you what, that's the greatest thing is when you're totally on the edge of bonking and you're either at a rest stop or whatever. And it's like, it's just so good to eat stuff. It's amazing, right? It's like the most incredible.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, we both, all of us bicycling and any endurance athletes, you're into the aspect that your mind produces a ton of endorphins. And that's why we do it. It's just like runner's high, classic. Mm-hmm. So, but lately I was, for whatever reason, I came across this interesting fact, which is that what body organ produces more endorphins than your brain? Okay.
I got no clue.
Your stomach. Your stomach. That's why.
Oh, really?
You had to think about it, right? You sit down for a nice pasta dinner or whatever, or like, when you're so hungry, I'm going to eat pizza and whatever. Your stomach, like, yeah, endorphin city. So anyway, that's why, you go out and you have a meal with people and you're all feeling good after your meal. Endorphins. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So
that's super interesting. Because,
makes sense, right?
It's just like during these long rides. Yeah. During these long rides, it's like, sometimes you'll be feeling so bad, like out in Kansas when I ate that ice cream sandwich and the Fanta in the morning. I was just feeling terrible. And then it's like you go and you stop, you get off your bike and you crush all that food. And it's like your mindset kind of changes. You start feeling so much better. So yeah, that's cool to hear.
Yeah. So it makes sense, right? What took us so long? So, okay.
Yeah.
So here we are. You're trained up. You're ready to go. You are our United States national champion, 24-hour solo guy, and you're going to Italy. What's the name of the city and what's the date?
So it's in Finale Liguore, and the date is on May 28th.
Awesome. So all you folks out there, we're all going to be watching to see the results. And our own Will Loevner is going to go after the 24-hour solo world championship, representing America in Italy. This is so awesome. And on his handlebars, he will have a Betty. And so a quick word about that. So, and I was talking to Todd, one of our good riders, and he works with me here at Lupine. And he said, he said, what I always do, and this is solid advice. And this is not like from a technical manual. This is just us talking to you. Is like, I first set up my Betty on the bars without a helmet light and just set it up so you can get the farthest penetration you can. No other ambient light. I don't know if you do that, but you see my point, because you don't want it pointing down too much or up too much. You want it so it gets its furthest point. You pretty much do that, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Then we're going to get you, in my opinion, a Pico helmet light to match up with that. Now that Betty is 5,400 lumens. Okay. And the Pico is only 2,100 lumens, but you don't run high that often, except when you're on a descent, to conserve battery and runtime. So anyway, what we were all talking about was, and here it is, of course, there it is mounted, and you can see the lights mounted there with Velcro through the vents. And I got the helmet, the battery mounted right there on the helmet. Great lightweight setup.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what you're going to be getting. And so the way you want to set this thing up is, in our opinion, in my opinion, you want to almost set it up so you got your Betty going out like that on the plane to its farthest point in the horizon. And then you almost want to set the Pico sort of down. And that way, as you described the course in Italy, it's going to be twisty turning. So if it's down, you see, when you're going around that tight turn, right, the Pico is down and looking at that. Because, the one thing about the Betty, does that make sense to you? It's kind of down.
Yeah,
so
that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Right. When you look on the corner, you want to see. So the Betty is actually so powerful that it does produce shadows. So if you're going around a bend and there's a big tree there, there's going to be a dark spot right there. And, you can't help that because the bike hasn't turned in that direction yet. So there's going to be a bit of a shadow there. Mm-hmm. And so if it's down and you're looking, you're going to expose that shadow and you're going to brighten that up. And you're going to look, and then you're going to be able to nail that. So that's what we're thinking. So this is the setup. This weighs 150 grams for the total thing. Now.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So the one thing I want to mention, I got a lot to talk about because, both the Betty and the Pico have remotes. Okay. Separate remotes. Right. So like
Okay.
Right? See that? And this is set up 3 levels. All right. All right. So that goes on your bars and your Betty's on. All right. So before I forget one other thing, these are small batteries, obviously. And so can you see that there is like a sequential taillight mode I have set up on that battery? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
See how that's going? All right. So basically it's a fuel gauge from 0 to 100%. And so it'll tell you what the battery is. But in this case, I have the fuel, the fuel gauge LEDs set up in stoplight sequential flashing. And so the first thing before I forget, I think that mostly if you're in a UCI 24-hour race, they require you have a tail light. Is that correct? I believe
they do. Yeah. For the national race, they did.
Right. And so instead of having the extra weight, the tail light or the extra, dude, that's your tail light. It's on the back of your helmet. So you could just set your battery. Right. You set your battery up like that and you're good. You meet all the requirements.
Okay. Sick.
Now, so let me talk about the remote. So, one thing about Lupine is that you can actually tie more than one light into a remote. So let's say you've got your Betty and your Pico hooked up, one remote. So then you're climbing and you got them on low and you're climbing and you're climbing. And all of a sudden you hit the crescent and the crest of the hill and you got a screaming downhill. You're like, boom, one thing, boom, 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 high beam, drill it. All right.
Yeah.
So that is a feature. I don't know if you want to use it, and I'll give you another theory. So the other way to do that is to put the Betty remote on your left, on your thumb, on the bars, and the Pico remote on your right. And so in that manner, if you're in a real twisty, turny descent, and remember, the whole idea is to conserve battery runtime. So you may want to say, I'm going to leave my Betty headlight on medium or low for this section. But I'm going to have, because there's so many twists and turns, I'm going to have my Pico on high. So that way you wouldn't necessarily want to have them both tied into the same remote, although you could, if you so up to 5, actually 5 lights. I don't know who has 5 lights, but so does that make sense to you? So you may want,
that's really interesting.
So you may probably want to go with 2 setups, in my opinion, because you're going to be customizing shit throughout the course, and the customization will hold because, when you get to a certain section, you go, oh, this is where I want the Betty on medium and I want the Pico on high. So, you have a really big battery for the Betty, and that'll probably last multiple laps. Do you know how long your laps are going to be roughly?
I believe it says on the website they're about 11 kilometers. So I think that's going to be like 7 miles.
Right.
So that's I'm guessing it'll probably be around like 40 minutes or something.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is recommend that I send you 2 or 3 of these batteries. Now, theoretically on high, they'll last an hour and a half, but there's heat management and stuff that kicks in. And, the airflow's they're not going to run on high for an hour and a half, nor do you want them to. So, but they just click right out, So if I send you 2 or 3 of these already charged, right, then you can always, like in this case, like that's showing me that's 100% charged. Right? Mm-hmm. There. Can you see that? 100% charged.
Yep. I can.
So you'll be able to tell. It also has an audible indicator. So you don't have to pull your helmet off or anything. You can just hit it and hear ding, 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 ding. And you go, oh shit, I'm 50%. So my idea is that you have 2 or 3 of these ready to go. And when you quick stop in for a pit stop to do whatever, you quick click this out, click in the new one and go. This will probably last you 2 laps, even if you're using the high beam a lot because it's twisty and turning. Does that make sense? So, I mean, how many laps do you think you'll go ahead?
So I was going to ask what the, when you have it on medium and when you have it on low, do you know what the battery life is on those settings?
So for like a Pico, it would be 3 hours. For a Betty, you know how that's been going. Yeah, a Betty's going to be on medium, maybe 4, 5, 6 hours. So I think you can get by with one big battery, especially if you're using it on low beam, on the Betty, on the handlebars a lot, or medium, because you're either climbing or whatever.
Yeah.
So then there's some other things you can do. So because both of them are Bluetooth, both lights can be customized and programmed. So you can go to 3 levels, high, medium, and low, or you can go to 4 levels, high, medium, low, low. So you may want to play around with that in your mind or before you get to Worlds, because you might say, you know what, I can get by with medium, low. I don't need, and all these with the thought of economizing my run times on my batteries. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, then the other
thing. I was going to say that I think that I'm with this new light with the Pico, it might make sense to run the Betty just on medium low the whole time. And then since I'll have that Pico on my head, and then I can go through those adjustments and be able to modulate that. And it looks like it'd be super fast to switch out those batteries when I have to. So I think that that'd be a pretty sweet setup.
Yeah, agreed. And also remember that you can also go on to your app on your smartphone, and you can not only put it into 4-step mode, like we just talked about, but you can also say, I want high beam to be 80%, or I want medium low to be 60% of what it factory set is. And so you can play around with that too, because you say, man, there's this long stretch where I'd really like to run high. You know, it's a steep descent, and I can't use the Pico because there's no twist and turn. I really like to have that long-term visibility because I'm flying. And you'd say, so I'll be using high on that section of the course, but you know what? I don't need 100%. So I'll set it at 80%, which is good enough. And in that way, conserve a little bit more run time. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and you'll figure it out. But the point of it is those options are available. And just a quick note to the average consumer, you don't have to do any of this. You know, this shit comes program step, batteries are charged, 3-step mode, and you can just pull it out of the box, put it on your bike and go. So, but what we're talking about is a subtle fine tuning to get you the most out of your batteries, out of your lights, out of your run times on each lap. Does that make sense? And I just wanted to throw that in there as a, consumer beware. It's like somebody might be watching and go, well, that's, I don't want to do all that shit. I just want to turn the light on. It's like, no, you can just turn the light on. It's all good. However, if you want to become a world champion, 24-hour solo world champion, then you may want to use some of these customization options. So I just want to make sure you were aware of all those. So we'll get you this light with like 2 or 3 batteries, and that should do it. The only question I have in my mind is, will that big battery carry you through the night on that Betty from your past experience, you think?
Yeah, so what I've been doing in these last races is I have 2 of those big Betty batteries, and I've just been blasting them on medium for the most part. And they'll last like 4 or 5 hours on that medium setting, and then just switch them through halfway and I'll be good. And then like the other battery can get charged by my support crew or whatever at like a power station. But I'm really interested to see with this new light if it allows me. The only thing is like swapping batteries. Like if I could just run the Betty just on that medium low the whole time or something,
you won't have to swap.
I could maybe avoid like a pit stop. And
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know,
So that's
this battery is so light that you can always carry one in your pocket. So you don't have to actually stop.
definitely.
And then you could just quick change it on the fly.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll send you like 2 or 3 of those and you should be good. You should have everything you need and
Awesome.
you're going to crush it. And especially with this on a twisty, turny course. Like I said, you know, you'll be like looking down there and looking down there. That's going to be awesome.
Uh-huh.
There has been,
thank you.
there's been people that say, actually, when you come up on somebody, if you're coming up on a competitor, that because the Betty's so bright, that you cause them shadows, right? Because it's coming up behind them. And then all of a sudden they've got the shadows normally plus multiplied by your light throw. So they've got serious dead spots and they, get around me, whatever. I'm not saying that's a tactical advantage, but I'm not saying that out loud. So, all right. So all you have to do is text me your address or something, and I'll get these right out to you.
All right.
I'll get them packed up tomorrow.
Perfect.
3 of those batteries. And you should be good to go, man. You're going to win this thing. So there is a bit of a legacy. There is a bit of a legacy that you have to uphold here. So I want to show you this. And you can see that picture over my,
That's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
So
It's opposite on the screen.
I don't know if you knew this. Can you see that?
There we go.
I can, yeah.
Tilt it that way a little bit. There you go.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. See that
Yep.
guy's name, his autograph.
I
His
do.
name, Chris Etoff. So back in like 2003 or 4, I was racing with him in the Mid-Atlantic Super Series back then. And he goes, Billy, I heard you're importing some lights from Germany. And I said, yeah, man. This was before e-commerce. So it's like, you know, I'm thinking just another job that I don't want to do because you'd have to go bike shop to bike shop peddling this, you know, and I was like, I was reluctant to carry the brand, but I was reluctant to carry the brand. But anyway, I did. And I was talking to some people about it. And Chris goes, hey, dude, I'm going out to Whistler, BC, and I'm going to race in the 24-hour world championship and solo. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, I've got like Night Rider and Light Motion in my backyard. And we have targets set up, you know, with 100 feet, 200 feet. And me and my dad, Mike Etoff, who I used to race with too, his dad's a great rider. So he said, you mind if I take one of your lights and compare and contrast? And I'm like, no, that'd be cool, dude. Because I don't know if I'm going to distribute them or what. You know, I got a bunch of them. So, you know, next time I see him at the race, he goes, dude, that light was really better than the rest of them. And there's more to light than lumens. You know, there's focus, there's lensing. Yeah. So there's a lot of shit going on. And of course, they're Germans. They take it very seriously. And it's a high quality technical instrument. And so he says, I'm going to use your light. Can you sponsor me? And I said, sure. What do you need? You know, a couple of lights. You got some Bettys. I think he had a Wilma on the helmet at the time. And I gave him some sponsorship money. Anyway, he ended up winning 5 in a row. So like Lance Armstrong, right? Lance Armstrong ain't got nothing on this boy. He won 5 world championships. Well, maybe they were not over a 6-year period, but he's got 5 solo 24-hour champions. And he's from our area, you know, Maryland, Pennsylvania. So that is the legacy that you've got to be aware of, at least. You know. So I was so jazzed that hell yeah, dude. So it's like, are you kidding me? Another world champion on a Lupine light. So I was really jazzed for this whole experience. So that's pretty much it. So you know about the programming, you know about the remotes, you know about how you want to set up your helmet light and how you want to set up your Betty. You know how you want to use these batteries on the back. And this whole setup is super light, 150 grams. And you know how to use the sequential taillight in the back. So you don't need to have, if they say, hey, you got to have a rear taillight, you go, I got this. Right. You just have to hit this hit the Lexon button a couple of times and it'll go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that.
I had it. I blew it.
I think you said it was 4 times, right?
Anyway, 4 times. All right. So, so you get me your address. We'll get you the Pico, a couple extra batteries, and I know it's tricky.
You hold it in?
No, you got to hit it again, and then that's why the Germans say that we're not very bright here because no, it works. So that's it. So we'll all be cheering for you. May 28th. That's like Memorial Day weekend, right? Here in the States.
Yeah.
So we'll all be tuning in on that. Is Red Bull will probably be there.
And then,
and then what?
So then right after 24-hour Worlds, then I'm flying straight out from Italy back to Unbound XL. So I'll be using the same light setup back out there and for that race. So that'll be sick as well.
Sick, dude. Sick. Can you imagine double dipping that world champion and then busting out Unbound XL and getting that this year? Woo. Kudos. More power to you. Yeah, you're awesome. You're awesome, man. So good. So good to be hooked up with you. It's my pleasure. So, we got all that going on. So I'm like worried about this gravel grinder championship down in Leesburg. It's a USE event, United States Endurance. That's coming up on May 7th. And
nice.
It's 5-year age groups. I don't know if you're around then, but May 7th. But
all right, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, but so I'm worried about 100 miles. And then after my discussion with you just now, I'm like, 100 miles. Come on, man. Will's like, what? I do that before breakfast. Yeah. But I still remember unpaved when I was out there. It was kind of, it was rainy in the morning and stuff like you said. And I'm going up this hill and it's like, I look over, it's you. And you go, hey, Bill, how you doing? And man, that left me scratching my head for quite some time. And I think I was with somebody else and they said, dude, he's doing a double, dude. That's his second lap. I'm like, shit, man. Second 120 lap.
I remember everybody was covered in mud too. There's a downpour.
Yeah. It was an ugly start. All right, man. Everything's good. Give me that address. We'll get you the light. Enjoyed talking to you. You got legacy back there, dude. Chris Etoff. I know he's out there somewhere. He'll be rooting for you. And Lupine lights, man. We're jazzed that you're riding our lights. And hopefully this podcast gave you a few ideas to toy around with before you hit the big race. And
definitely, man. I really appreciate it. And the Betty has worked amazing and all the stuff I've done the last year since I think you hooked me up with it right after I did the Wilderness 303. I used it out in Kansas, used it for 24-hour nationals and for that Rockstar Gravel FKT and same with out in Arizona for Old Pueblo. And it's worked like a charm the whole time. And just being able to modulate through those different settings is amazing with the Bluetooth switch. And so I'm super stoked to get the new light and I just feel like it's going to be the perfect setup for World. So can't wait.
I can't wait either, dude. I'm so psyched. I'm with you all the way on that one. And, dude, I'd like to help you out. If you decide to do Cape Epic, you got to come up with a partner. Like if Nino Schurter's not available, somebody, we got to sponsor a team, man. I'd be jazzed for that. I'd like to go down there too and do it. They have the Grand Masters. And I got to go up against Thomas Frischknecht and all those guys. Awesome. Right. Anyway. Okay. Good luck. We'll get the lights out to you. Get me that address. And what we always say here, it's so true with you is peace out, bro. But long live long rides. And I'm going to get you a Lupine hat.
Peace out, man.
Peace out, man. And I'm going to get you a Lupine hat to go with the Flow hat. Good stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right. Take care, my friend.
All right, man. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Peace out.